All right, so I just wanted to do a quick review of the Moog Mother-32. As those of you who subscribe to my page and watch my other videos should know by now, I've been posting a bunch of clips of patches that I've done with it. I've been borrowing this from a friend, good friend, nice enough to let me borrow the Mother for a few weeks, and I've been really enjoying it. I think it's awesome. I'm not going to do like a lengthy thing like I did with the mini log, because by now everybody knows what this thing sounds like, what it can do, and there's been a ton of great coverage of it. I just wanted to sort of share my 2 cents on overall value and quality of the synth. So I think it's a great synth. I would highly recommend it as just a standalone mono synth that has modular connectivity. I think the semi-modular aspects of it are really cool, and there's a lot you can do with the patch bay. I like that there's not any menu except for the sequencer functions. Everything is right there. It's very playable. I think the sound is great. The filter is awesome. I've used some other modern Moog synths, and I've played a couple vintage ones, and I have to say that of all the more recent offerings, this is really one of my favorites. And for the price, it's unbelievable. They just haven't offered anything in this price range. The Minotaur, I think, is a really cool synth, but it is very limited in terms of only being in the bass range, and there's other things about it that I personally didn't like. I don't actually think the CV inputs on the Minotaur function the way you'd want if you're trying to integrate it into a Eurorack system, whereas the Mother-32 integrates perfectly. I haven't had any issues patching it up with my modular, which is awesome. Now, one thing I wanted to say though is that I've heard a lot of people ask on forums and on Facebook and other contexts if the Mother-32 would be a good intro into Eurorack, if it's a good first module. And well, it is technically a Eurorack module, even though it comes in a standalone case. You can rack it, and it works just like any other Eurorack module. I don't actually think it is a fully modular synth. The fact that the sequencer can't be uncoupled from the normalization from the sequencer to the oscillator's pitch, you can't disconnect it. Also, the sequencer CV and gate are always paired. You can't have notes on without a gate, or a held note with a gate, etc. You can't separate the progression of the CV values from the gates being on or off. So those are two things that to me limit what you can do with the Mother. There's also some features that you could find in a lot of other Eurorack modules, like the different components of the voice that are missing here. So there's no hard sync on the oscillator. There's no sync input, which I think is something I'd like to see. It's something I like to use a lot in my Euro oscillators. There's also only 2 waveforms. The LFO doesn't have a reset. The LFO goes into audio rate, but it doesn't track pitch all the way. The envelope isn't voltage controlled, so you can't VC the decay. So there's a few other things like that where if it was fully modular, if each of these components of the voice were its own module, you'd want to see more features. That said, for a standalone voice at this price, there's not a lot to complain about. Those points of criticism, they're critiques, but they're not complaints. I don't think that Moog should have made it have all those features I listed, because if they did, it wouldn't be this price, and it wouldn't be this attractive, of an option for people. So all in all, I think it's really great. But if you're looking for a complete voice that is fully modular, I can highly recommend the IntelliGel Atlantis. There's some great overviews of it on YouTube already. So if you're curious about getting into modular and you want to get a complete voice, I would definitely take a look at the Atlantis, which I think has a lot of capability for expansion in a modular context. That said, if you want to just have a synth that you could throw in a backpack and play a gig with, I think this is the best thing on the market. I mean, I honestly, I think you could play a gig with this and like a delay pedal. Well, I'm a sucker for delay, so. But yeah, and I just think it sounds great. I mean, it's just really musical. I have to say, I just think the pure sound of the oscillators and the filter sounds like really good. I know it sounds, you know, I don't really know how to say it. It's not that my Eurorack stuff doesn't sound good. What I wanted to say is I think it sounds better than a lot of the Euro oscillators that are out there. And it's not that they don't sound good, but there's a certain punch and a low-end heft and also just a sweetness in the high notes that I hear in this that I think is kind of missing from a lot of other modular, you know, commonly available modular synths. So, you know, hats off to Moog. They did a great job. I think it sounds amazing. But again, you know, I don't think this is like the be-all, end-all modular. This isn't a Moog modular system. You know, this is a semi-modular synth that they've made. And if you're really interested in getting into some of the, you know, more experimental edges of modular composition and you know, just the fringes of what you can do in the modular context, I don't know if I would recommend this, but if you are looking for a standalone vintage sounding analog mono synth, I don't really think you can do much better. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on the Moog Mother-32, and thanks for listening.